So something simple and easy, and anybody and everybody at their home could do something like this and start sifting the rocks out and making their own soil. So I just realized that I left my soil sifter up at the property, so today I'm going to show you guys how to make a new one. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some 2x4s. These are some scrap 2x6s that I found laying in the wood pile, so we're going to use those today. You're going to need some steel mesh. This is 1/4 inch steel mesh, and this is going to go over the 2x4s. You're going to need some screws, and that's going to screw in all the 2x4s and the mesh. You're going to need a tape measure to measure out all your measurements, pencil to make all your marks, need a skill saw to make all your cuts, and you'll need a drill to drill in all your screws. So this wine barrel is what I'm using to sift all my soil into. For others it might be a wheelbarrow. And all you're going to do is just kind of measure it out. Take your wood, set it over the top of whatever you're trying to sift into, and then mark it off with the pencil. So let's do that first. So I got my top and my bottom piece already cut, and I'm just going to make my cuts on the bigger piece here. And the idea is you want one of these on each side, so you're basically making a square. We'll put the mesh over top, and then as you sift, the rocks will sit up top and the soil will fall below. Okay, so I measured out the 2x4. It's about 7 feet tall, so I'm just going to cut it in half. So 84 inches divided by 2, 42. So I made a mark 42 inches in. I'm just going to make that cut, and then I'm going to take those cuts and move them to each side. For this next part, I've got my little helper Ashley here, and she's going to hold the board while I screw the screws in. And you want to face you want the boards, the skinny side, to face down, not this wider side. And that's because you want to form a box, and you don't want the dirt to fall over off the sides. So, little helper, come here, and you're going to hold this board right here. Okay, so we got our square cut, fits perfect to the wine barrel. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take a thin piece of wood and we're going to overlap it with the 1/4 inch steel mesh. So first, we're going to take the mesh and we'll measure it out and just make sure it's going to fit over the square. Then we're going to take our thin piece of wood, put it over top of the mesh, and then screw it into the board. Okay, so now I've got my mesh cut, and all I'm doing is securing it to the board. And how I'm doing it is with these U-nails. I think that's the name of them. I'll put a link in the description below so you guys know what I'm using here. So all I'm going to do is secure the mesh to the wood that way, and then I'm going to come over top with another piece of wood to just really lock it in. I'm using 2 layers of mesh, figuring the 2 layers of mesh will allow me to sift whatever I want and actually push down on the mesh without the mesh, you know, snapping. So next what you're going to do is take a thin piece of wood, and this thin piece of wood is going to go over top of the mesh that you just laid down. And then we're going to take some more screws and screw it in, and that's really going to lock this mesh in so it doesn't move around as you're sifting through the soil. So this you're going to need the saw, so I'm going to go ahead and I marked it off here. I'm going to make my cut. So I've got it cut for the bottom plate. Now you just take your screw it into the bottom plate piece, and that will lock this board in to the bottom board right in between the mesh, and that will actually tighten the mesh up, prevent the mesh from moving around. Alright, we got the bottom one locked in. Now we're going to do the top one here. Okay, so the top and the bottom are secure. I got some scrap pieces of wood I'll use to just secure these side pieces. Here's a piece for the other side. Let's get that locked in. Okay, so now that it's flipped over, you can see it creates this little box. So all you do is you drop your soil in there, you sift through it, it falls below, and then you got to dump the rocks out. Well, what's an easy way to get these rocks out of here? I'm going to show you next. Alright, so after you sift through the soil, you're still going to have some rocks in here, and there's no real easy way to get them out without grabbing them or dumping the whole thing over. So what I like to do is I cut a little notch in one of the corners here. That's what we're going to do next, just cut a little notch in this top corner here. So here's my little notch, and I'm going to show you right now how it works. So that's it. Worked out pretty good. The little notch on the corner was key because you saw how I dumped everything in this bucket here. Now when I dumped it in the bucket, if it didn't have this little notch, it'll all get basically just piled up in this corner, and then I'd have to take my hand and push it in the bucket. So make sure to do the notch. Something simple and easy, and anybody and everybody at their home could do something like this and start sifting the rocks out and making their own soil. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.